This is something I wanted to look at a little bit. It was recommended to me on YouTube, and it looked interesting. I don't know a lot about it. This is just kind of a first look. I just printed it and bound it so that I could read it in bed while the cats sleep on my feet, because that is cozy as fuck. But this is a Solitaire GM emulation package in the vein of Mythic or Ironsworn or Scarlet Heroes or what have you. It's most similar to Mythic in that it appears to track a lot of like narrative stuff. I guess Ironsworn does that too. It's less like Scarlet Heroes, and I can't claim to be some kind of like super Chad like solitaire game dude or whatever, you know what I'm saying? But my limited experience has been that when you're playing a very simulation focused game such as we enjoy here on this channel, you don't need as much of the narrative modeling that games like Ironsworn or the Mythic GME offer, because the narrative emerges from the simulation better, obviously, when you're using a simulationist system. So, I'm not saying that I don't think there's a place for this, or that I'm not trying to like cast any aspersions on anyone's chosen style of play, but I like simulation personally. I'm like a go into the dungeon, tactical combat, all the things, take their stuff type of guy, and not really much of a story gamer. The story has a purpose. And the story is good. It's good to have a story, but I guess what I'm saying is I am on the extreme end of the like emergent narrative via simulation side of the whole thing, rather than the narrative for narrative's sake side of things. You know what I'm saying? The emergent narrative to me is much more fulfilling than determining that stuff by what amounts to DM fiat. Although in the end, I guess it's all really just DM fiat, and the dice are like a rationalization for that. I don't know, maybe not. Anyway, I'm rambulating. I shall quit rambulating. Let's look at this. So here's our table of contents. It's not as big as Mythic 2. Mythic 2 is too big, in my opinion. Mythic 1 was about the right size. Mythic 2 was a step in the wrong direction, in my opinion. Although maybe it's better for pure story gaming. I don't know. I've never tried it for that. So your mileage may vary. Alright, so start by carefully reading Chapter 2. So it looks like it's breaking the solitaire experience down into several levels. An overarching campaign, framework, adventures that occur within that campaign, and the turns within those adventures. Nothing super groundbreaking there. That's the same way that we break things down in any normal, not solitaire game anyway. He has made play sheets that go with each of these things, apparently. So it looks very much like Mythic in that you're listing story threads and characters and making rolls to see what events occur with what characters and all that stuff. Yeah, this is very Very mythic-y. I don't see, I'm not casting aspersions on anybody's choice of solitaire gaming oracles, but I don't like determining what the scenes are going to be with the oracle. I would rather the scenes naturally emerge from the simulation and then the details of those scenes be like fleshed out via the oracle if necessary. Like I don't know, like maybe like all of the background campaign level stuff, the big players doing stuff while the party's out doing their stuff, maybe I would be able to simulate that better if I kept better track of some of this stuff and had like campaign turns and stuff like that. But there are systems for that have been bolted onto acts already, and I think, and it's all fleshed out in Acts 2 especially. So I don't know that we even need that. I think for my purposes it's sufficient to just use a very simple oracle, like we looked at previously in like the last like side quest video thingaroo here. I think that's all I need. I think I don't need this like simulated narrative structure. I don't think, but let's look through it anyway. So we're putting down lists of goals and factions, and so we've got some active threads and background threads. I kind of keep track of those in an ad hoc fashion already when we're like sandbox playing regular non-solitaire games. So you got a campaign log, our goals. I don't know. A little more focused, same sort of thing for the adventures. And then it does have campaign turns. So it is simulating some of that stuff the way that both Acts 2 and Beyond the Wall do, that I like. So I'm most interested to see how it's doing that. I don't think I need the rest of this for my purposes, but this might be interesting. But let's just keep going through. The campaign is the outermost structure of the GM emulator. Functions as a framework for the adventures your character undertakes. Yeah, well, that's same as in non-solitaire play. It has some variables that you can switch here to make your campaign longer or shorter. It looks like it has some kind of like metagame mechanics that let you adjust the anticipated length of the campaign. That's an interesting take on it. I never really thought about trying to do that before. Just kind of like let it go till you get tired of it or have a TPK is what I've always done. But I guess having an official ending would probably make more campaigns come to a satisfying conclusion instead of just peter out. Assuming that, you just create new guys after TPKs and keep running the campaign. Anyway, so you have an overarching campaign goal, same as you would in normal play. We have adventure hooks the same way you would have in normal play. These in a sandboxy or solitaire type game are generated by the random encounters and acts as very, very good system for random encounters that generate more than just, monster fights. And in addition to that, if we use Wilderness Hexplore, in addition to that, which I need to figure up a good mechanic for that. Our party in this Solitaire Axe game has been on roads, so we haven't needed to use the random ruins and relics generation out of the Judges Guild products, or I'm using Wilderness Hexplore. It's like a cleaned up version of the Ready Riff sheets. Questionable legality. It's kind of pirated, but it's on the internet. You can find it if you search for Wilderness Hexplore. It'll come up somewhere. But yeah, I need to figure out a system for integrating that with the Axe encounter system, so that all of these Gonzo ruins that dot the Wilderlands can be generated correctly as they should be. But I'll do that some other time. Anyway, right. So yeah, so this is one of those GM simulators that assumes a narrative that the game is. How am I trying to say this? I've never really tried to put this into words before. There's a fundamental difference between the way that games get run, and it seems to kind of break down between the simulation crowd just simulates the world and the narrative emerges from that, and then there are the guys that create narrative outside of the simulation, and then I want to use the word fudge, but that's a little too aggressive a word. I don't want to go there. But they cook the simulation to fit the predetermined, it is predetermined narrative that they or the players are making up, rather than letting the narrative emerge from the simulation. And I'm not gonna. It's obvious which side of that spectrum I fall on, but I'm not going to cast aspersions on the other way either. There are some story games that I really, really enjoy, and it's kind of embarrassing to say it. Some of the Wretched and Alone games, even though the community is super toxic, some of those games that have been built with that system, those journaling games that use a deck of cards, some of those are actually a lot of fun. There's this one about being a long haul trucker after the rapture that I think is really cool. But it's super woke, but the gameplay is amazing. Oh, gotta look past it. That's the thing, that you can't look past people's politics and just focus on their creations when they build it into their game. Oh, don't do that, guys. Just play the game. You don't have to bring real life into it. We do that stuff to escape from all that dumb shit. Anyway, I digress. Right. So yeah, this GM emulator is most certainly going down that track of you generate your narrative rather than letting the narrative emerge from the simulation. And that's fine, I guess, but that doesn't make it so super useful for me, because when you try to use these kinds of DM emulators with an extremely simulationist system, they end up butting heads with each other, and then you end up having to cook the narrative to fit what's been simulated anyway, or cheat the simulation, which isn't really an option in my opinion. So yeah, we got random events. Here we go. The campaign turn. This is what I am most interested in. The campaign turn. Between adventures, you get a chance to explore the non-adventuring life characters and breathe a bit of life into the world around him. So this is about character downtime, not world simulation behind the characters. Damn. So there's... Man, that's not super useful, unfortunately. Because Axe already handles all of your character downtime activities as pretty as you please, from a simulationist perspective. Alright, so random events. This is what I would call the campaign turn. Oh, this is still part of the campaign turn. Okay, so this section's dealing with characters. That's fine. We don't need that. We've already got that. The world in which you play doesn't stand still while your character goes on their adventures. Simulating every detail of that world is way beyond the scope of this emulator, which is why it abstracts the process quite a bit. Alright, I'm dubious, but let's continue and see what they have to say. The random events you roll up do not represent everything that's going on in that entity's life. Instead, there's a small snapshot of what provides more context to your campaign for future adventure hooks. Try to interpret the role that impacts your character's life. It's very easy to lose focus and create a storyline that your character never interacts with, but that's fine. Things happen in the background that the characters never interact with, unless they happen to interact with them. Only create something that doesn't involve your character if you have fun doing so. I happen to. It could serve as inspiration for future campaigns, adventures, or ideas for other characters you might want to play. Alright, for every random event roll, you randomly determine an entry on the corresponding active list. From the previous adventure, and a roll on the random event table from the book of tables. The scope of your campaign gives you the minimum amount of random events that should be rolled, but feel free to roll up additional events if you think it would enhance the narrative. So we need to look at this book of tables. This looks like a book of tables. Now this stuff actually looks, some of this looks very useful. Yes, some of this looks exceptionally useful. Alright, campaign turn, random events. So, you roll a d10, select a category, and then roll on that. So you got all these different categories, and then all these different sorts of things that happen. And these are... Huh. Okay, I might be able to use some of this. It's not, it doesn't look like it's super high level. Like we're not like, I don't know, some of it is, some of it's super high level, and some of it's like character level stuff. It's interesting. It looks like more of it is character level stuff rather than like super high level, like this is what this town is doing to this other town type stuff. You know what I'm saying? But that's pretty cool. And a lot of these tables are interesting. I need to study these in more detail, and see, like this, I can use this to generate like random little doohickeys to take our dudes on to, you know, like make a few bucks when they're in town. Yeah, this, and here's an oracle. It's kind of like the word rolly thing from Mythic, except it gives you 3 words to work on: an adverb, a verb, and an object. So it'll generate things like selfishly heal burden. That's a little difficult to parse. Angrily forget madness. Yeah, sometimes tables like this provide interesting, like, prompts to take you to some conclusion that you wouldn't have come to otherwise, like naturally. Other times they just make word salad that you have to like twist into something usable to the point where you might as well just kind of make something up anyway without it. I don't know. It's fine. Here they have the same kind of almost exactly the same kind of chart that I made up based on the Scarlet Heroes one that I've been using. So that's good. I don't think excuse me. I don't think you need that many probabilities on these charts, though. That's one of my problems with Mythic. You've got this huge number of probabilities, and in reality, the only probabilities that I ever use are the 50-50 one, the, like, gotta be impossible or almost gotta be certain probabilities, and then the two that are, like, in between that, like, unlikely or kind of likely. I don't use... But, I mean, this only has 2 extra ones. That's not bad, but, like, Mythic's got, like, 9 different probabilities or something like that. It's way too much, and I never used all of them. I mean, that's fine, but, you know, it makes things more complicated. And I don't know, I mean, yeah, that's kind of stupid. Here I am playing, like, a simulationist game, complaining about oracles being too complicated, right? But once again, like, you either got to have, like, a complicated oracle and, like, a really, like, stripped down system like BX or something like that, or you've got to have a really simulationist game and a super simple oracle. Otherwise, they butt heads with each other. That's my shitty opinion on the subject anyway. Alright, so yeah, that's it. I guess we need to look through these tables a little more. Here's campaign premise. So it has these, like, high-level campaign archetypes, 10 of them, divided into 10, like, premises beneath that archetype. So that's kind of neat. So if I wasn't interested in, like, a criminal or naval campaign, I could just exclude those and roll, yeah. I don't know, fuck it, let's just roll one and see what we come up with. So here's a example campaign premise. We're looking at 8. That's a survival campaign, financial trouble. I don't think that would be very interesting, but to each their own. A high-level campaign premise is something that I think should be chosen non-mechanically to provide the greatest, like, ongoing interest in the game, for a solitaire game especially, because if it's not interesting, you're going to quit playing it. But it's fine. I guess if you don't know, have no idea what you want to do, you'd roll on the chart, and if you do have an idea, you could just, you know, pick something. I don't know. Alright, so then we got this random quest thingaroo here that's got the same kind of categories on it. So that's interesting. Let's roll a random one just for shits and giggles. We got a 35. It's going to be deception quest fraud. See, I don't think that would be very interesting either. I always play lawful characters. Maybe we'd be trying to expose a fraud instead, but yeah. It's fine, it's fine. I think that might be a good table to use to come up with things that we can, you know, flesh out a little more after figuring them out. Oh, wait, you roll on the quest type and then there are a bunch of subtables. So deception fraud right? Ah, yes, okay, so over here, deception, fraud. I guess we roll a d10 on this. We should have just rolled deception. And then flipped over and rolled on this table, I guess. Well, let's roll on the deception table and see what happens. I guess we could just roll a d10 on deception fraud, but then there's this one here that's more than 10 entries. So, yeah, let's just roll a d100. 88. Sabotage. Prevent innovation. Eh. Good enough. It's fine. It's fine. I don't think it's exactly for me, but it's fine. Quest giver. Roll D100 to pick a category. Alright, so here, let's see what this gives us. We roll a D100, we get a 19. It says NPC, I assume this means that we roll on this chart over here. 78, our quest giver is a diver. And I think the simulation could produce something more pertinent to the emerging narrative than having to fit a diver into the town of Bernie where we left off before. I mean, it could happen. It's on a river, right? So, yeah. Campaign turn random events. See, this I think could be useful. So, while our dwarves are off adventuring, what's happening back at Thunderhold? Okay, maybe we can roll on here and figure that out. Although a lot of these seem to be like character focused rather than like story focused. Let's see. So we got a 5. That's ideology. We turn over here to ideology and roll a D100. We get a 54. Abuse of privilege. So someone's abusing their privileges back in Thunderhold. What happens with that? What comes of that? I don't know. It's a big city. There's always going to be someone abusing their privileges. Yeah. See, I think these are meant to focus on what's going on around the characters rather than like what's going on in the world outside of the characters. It already said in the previous section that not to generate that stuff unless you wanted to. So I think this DM emulator intends to be very character focused, which is fine. I guess it's fine. It's not my cup of tea. It's not what I want. A campaign turn emulator to do for me, though. So here's Appendix A, extended play examples. Yeah, okay, so this is talking about a dude that wants to play a game and he just doesn't have any idea where to start. He doesn't have any idea what he wants to play. And that's fine, I guess. That might be interesting. I usually know what I want to play, but maybe I should shake it up a little bit. Maybe I should do this sometime. Just roll a random thing out of this book and play it. I won't even choose the system until it tells me what it's going to be. That could be a fun time. But yeah, okay. So he's. It says he's got a good idea of the sort of game he wants to play, but then it says that he rolls all this, like, campaign stuff randomly. Yeah, he's rolling himself up a quest. Okay, I can see how that. Yeah, that makes sense. I shouldn't be too hard on He's running a Stargate episode here, I guess. Well, here it's starting with an adventure. Okay, so okay. So this is if you got no idea what you want to do. We're starting with a complete concept. See, this is why I should learn to read. Okay, I don't think that was a complete concept, but okay, we'll go with it. Starting with an adventure. You know what adventure you want to go on. You have a goal and a reason and a destination. That's basically what we've already done, except it's like a long-term adventure goal. And starting with a player character. Okay. Randomized start. Okay. Alright, so I guess, and then we got all the same tables and stuff back here. I'm going to try this out sometime, just with the completely random thing and see what it turns up. It's less complicated than Mythic. Certainly less complicated than Mythic 2. It's more. It provides more narrative structure than something like Scarlet Heroes. It's if you want a story game emulator, I think that Ironsworn is the best one of those. I can't say I'm a fan of Ironsworn. I'm just saying that if you want a game that simulates narrative construction, Ironsworn does it really well. But like I said, I want emergent narrative, not generated narrative. Personally, this thing it's a nice little product. It's most certainly oriented towards a narrativist sort of play style. I kind of hate to go there. GNS theory is kind of bullshit anyway, but it's definitely oriented towards kind of a narrative play style. And that's fine. I think that if you're into the narrative playstyle, Ironsworn or Star Sworn or whatever they are, they've got a bunch of them now, is probably going to produce more compelling narrative than this is. I don't like Mythic at all, the way it does the chaos factor and all that stuff. It's too easy to game. It's too easy to metagame that system. Because the way that it's too easy to game the questions because the probability curve isn't distributed equally when the chaos factor is something other than right in the middle. So depending on how you ask your questions, you can game the outcomes that you're going to get. And once you realize that, it's impossible. You get into this headspace loop of whether you're you can't tell if you're gaming the system positively or negatively. It's impossible to be completely completely sure that you're being unbiased in the way you're asking your questions, because maybe you're not advantaging your characters, but maybe you're unconsciously disadvantaging your characters because you're trying so hard not to advantage them. You know what I mean? It doesn't work. It doesn't work once you realize that you can game the Oracle in Mythic, which is a shame. It's the guy put a lot of work into it. It looks like a really neat book, but I couldn't get into it. It's too complicated and too easy to game. But yeah, if you like Mythic but you want something a little simpler, this might do it for you. But I still think a narrativist gamer is going to like some of the Ironsworn variety of games, like they'll produce a little better narrative than this will, I think. Well, maybe I'm full of shit. We'll try this sometime. I'll roll up something completely random. I'll choose a set of rules off of the shelf up there above our heads. Once we've figured out the random, like exactly whether even what genre it's going to be, and go with it. Anyway, I've rambled a lot. If you watched this all the way through, you're insane. What the hell is wrong with you? Goodbye.